Okay, so we are live on YouTube now.
Okay.
We are live on YouTube. Okay, so we are live on YouTube now. Okay. Live. So thank you very much, Mr. Darlington. Our friendship has gone a long way. So I decided let my friends also tap in from your. Thank you very much, Darlington. Our friendship has. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, I think my app, I don't really know what's happening. Just give me a second, please.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. So, Mr. Darlington, it's really been a long time. At some time, I was wondering where you are. You're not on Facebook, you're not on any social media. I lost your WhatsApp communication.
Yeah, I actually took a break from social media. I was passing through a phase of my life, so I took a break. I wanted to, would I say, hibernate for some time, and it actually lasted for I think a year and 8 months before I decided to come back.
But thank God you're back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, for our viewers, my name is Dr. Raymond Ibeh. I'm a lecturer with Federal University of Technology, Owerri, but biochemist by profession. And here with me is Mr. Darlington Waba. I remember those days when I used to write recommendation letters for him. You know, the everyday disturbance, everyday new school, every day, but nevertheless, we were not tired. We kept on pushing, and today is actually a scholar in the US. So I invited him to come and give us a lecture on the Jackpot issue, so that most of us that also want to Jackpot, we can actually learn from his wealth of experience has been a scholar across Europe. He's currently a scholar in the US. So, Mr. Darlington, kindly give us a brief about yourself and what you've been able to achieve with your academics.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Ugonna Darlington Wankwa. I studied at the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, when I was, for my undergraduate. Dr. Ray was one of our lecturers then. I think then he was actively doing his PhD before he joined as, a full-time lecturer at FUTO, if I'm not mistaken. So
Correct.
after which I attempted my first MSc at University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Well, at some point during the program, I actually left to study in Europe via the Erasmus Mundus Masters Scholarship. And currently, I am completing my PhD in the United States at Auburn University. So I am working in the Department of Chemistry as a PhD student. And it's an honor to be here to share a little of what I know about scholarship applications, and I hope you would benefit from this section. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Darlington. Thank you very much. I'm happy. One of the greatest achievement of scholars to see their mentee doing better. So some people have been asking me, why have you not Japa? Why have you not Japa? Why have you not Japa and the rest? I was like, we all have our time. We all have our time. So my time will come and I will do the needful. So for now, so let's dive into the lecture. So I don't know if you have access to sharing your screen so I can share your screen and
Yeah, sure. I'll do just that. Okay. Please let me know
yes, we
if
are seeing your screen now.
my screen. Um, just a second, please. I want to minimize this. Okay. So should I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, so today we'll be discussing how to increase your chances of getting a scholarship. And for this conversation, I have drafted this outline. I might be touching other things apart from this, but this is like the general outline I have in mind as to what we will discuss today. First, I want to start by talking about how to identify scholarship opportunities. Then we go ahead to discuss how to submit an award-winning application. And then as I'm discussing this, I'll be touching on mistakes you must avoid in the process of making the applications. And we will do, kind of practice on how to write good essays such as personal statements and motivation letters and the rest. And then I guess the floor will be thrown open for anybody who cares to ask questions. Just to say that whatever I'm going to discuss here is my personal views based on my experiences. I don't think there are hard and fast, or I don't think there are like definite rules on what you must do to get scholarships. People have done different things and it's worked for them. And whatever I share here is just my personal experience. If you try it and it doesn't work for you, you cannot hold me accountable. This is a disclaimer. It's just what worked for me. Okay, so I would be adopting the storytelling approach in this conversation. I would mostly be telling my experience with what I did wrong, what didn't work, what I did, and what worked. My own experience and that of those that I know. So I hope you sit back and enjoy this section. So the first thing I want to talk about is, which scholarship opportunities should you pursue? This is one question that we often get, that I myself also struggled with for a long time, is like, which scholarship opportunities should I pursue? There are so many scholarship opportunities out there. Here I have listed some of the scholarship opportunities. This list is by no means, by no means covers all the scholarship opportunities that are out there. Just give me a second, please. I need to get something off my script. Oh, okay. So you can see a list of several scholarships in the UK, in the European Union, in Germany, Hungary, all over the world, United States, Canada. There are so many of them. One thing you want to bear in mind is that every scholarship is different. So you must have to decide which ones you want to apply, find out if you qualify for them, if you have better chances of getting them, and then you make your application. And you must have to understand each of them, what their different processes are. So here I said that you must understand the mission and vision of the scholarship before applying. This is actually a must, because if you're applying for different scholarships using the same approach, you would not be able to, at most you're applying best for one. The others you are not, because all of them have different missions, visions, and you must understand this to submit a good application for that scholarship. And one thing you need to think about when you are making applications are, first, what am I passionate about? Okay. What did you study in school? What are you good at? What class of degree do you have? Do you have a master's degree? These things determine what you apply for. I'm going to discuss in brief all of these scholarships I've listed here, and try to draw on what I mean by these things I talked about. I talked about every scholarship is different. You must understand their mission. You must think about these things. So the first one I want to talk about is Chevening. This is one of the most popular scholarships almost everybody know in the world. Chevening is a scholarship organized by the UK government. Just a second, please. Chevening is organized by the UK government, and their mission is simple. They want to train leaders, okay? They want to train leaders who would make an impact in their home country. So if you read, and I'm going to show you Chevening essays, if you read Chevening essays, you will find out that they want you to show your leadership skills. Their main interest is to train people who will take over the leadership of their country and make things better, okay? And that is why in Chevening application, they require you, after you study, to return back to your country to make impact. If you're writing a Chevening application and you're telling them that, oh, after the long run, I'm going to settle in UK and do this and do that, definitely you're already out, right? You must understand that. You must understand what is their mission. They want you to study and return back to your country to make an impact, and you must write in that line. Another scholarship you must know about is the Commonwealth Shared Master Scholarship. There are actually so many different Commonwealth scholarships. There is the Commonwealth Masters. There are other Queen Elizabeth Commonwealth and the rest of them, but there is the Commonwealth Shared Masters. In the Commonwealth Shared Masters, this is scholarship is called shared because part of your tuition or whatever money you are getting comes from the school, while the other one comes from Commonwealth. So for this scholarship, the intent is also to train you and have you go to your country to make improve the situation of your country. And you can clearly see that from the prompts of the Commonwealth scholarships, and I'm going to show you that as well in this webinar. But unlike Chevening, Commonwealth is not like strict on going and staying back in your country. For Commonwealth, I know people that studied Commonwealth scholarship who finish, just get back to their country and immediately also leave. Okay. For each of these scholarships, the ones you want to apply, you must take time to understand clearly what this scholarship requires, what it entails, and how to make a good application. Another important scholarship is the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Scholarship. So for Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Scholarship, their intention is not really to train you to come and become useful to your country, right? Their intention, this is by the European Union, their intention is to bring top talents to Europe. bring you to Europe so that you can stay and help them to develop Europe. So if you're writing achieving a scholarship and you're saying your career plan is after you finish, you want to come back to your country and make these changes, you don't say the same when you're writing Erasmus Mundus joint master scholarship, because their intention is to bring you to Europe to develop Europe. So your intention is to stay back and do this and do that. These are things you must know when you are applying for scholarships, because if you're doing the wrong thing, then you are shooting yourself in the leg. So for Erasmus Mundus joint masters, one peculiar thing about it, unlike any other scholarship, is that you are going to study in several different countries. It might be at least a minimum of 2. It can be up to 5 or so. Sometimes you study different masters during the 2 years and you get different certificates from different universities. It varies actually, but most of them look similar. What I want to point out now that I've just mentioned it is that even though I'm saying that this is something about Erasmus Mundus, in each of the Erasmus Mundus programs, their requirements also vary. So you don't say just because, oh, this is Commonwealth Shared Masters, I understand how it is, I use the same approach for all of them. Every particular program in it has some specific requirements that they make for themselves, for people that apply to them. And you must understand not just the goal of the Commonwealth Shared, but as well as the particular program that you're applying to. There are several different rules that you must stick to. You must understand and stick to them when you make applications. One of the Commonwealth shared applications I made, which is like the one I put the most into, I didn't get it because I made a very simple mistake. And I think I would share that during the course of these programs. I got actually one Commonwealth shared scholarship, but I didn't go for it. I went for an Erasmus Mundus joint master scholarship where I studied in different countries in Europe and before I started my PhD. So there's the DAD Master Scholarship, it's a scholarship in Germany. There's the Hungarian Stipendium. There's the Marie Curie PhD scholarship. Now, these ones are the master scholarships, right? Now I'm going to the PhDs. There's the Marie Curie PhD. One thing you should note about PhDs in the European Union is that you need a master's degree to do a PhD in Europe. So if you're applying for a Marie Curie, you need a master's degree. If you're applying for other scholarships, PhD scholarships in the European Union, you need a master's degree. But their PhDs are usually 3 years long. So, it's more of a balance. You do 2 years masters, you do 3 years PhDs, 5 years. In Asia, there are so many masters and PhDs. I know about the Hong Kong PhD scholarship, which is one of the highest paid scholarships in the world. Many people, go for it. If you can get it, it's actually very competitive. There is also PhD opportunities in USA and Canada, mostly PhD. You can get master's scholarship in USA, but it's very rare. In fact, if you must get master's scholarship in the USA, you must be what we call a hot cake, right? To get a master's. Most times they want you to apply for a PhD because PhD is a job, right? You are working for them, they are paying you. So unlike these scholarships I mentioned in the master scholarships, they're not getting anything from you. I mean, they might be getting something from you in the long run if you, for instance, Erasmus, you stay behind and stay in their country and help develop their country. But for your masters, they are just paying you to study, right? They pay your school fees, they pay you your living expenses, everything. They are just paying you. For PhDs for instance, in the USA, you are going to be working. You are going to be doing research for them. That's work. You are most likely also going to be teaching, especially in your first year. So they are paying you for your services. For masters, it's very, very difficult to get master's scholarships in the PA. I've seen somebody who got one too, but I'm just saying that it's rare. Okay, there are also several other funded positions all across the world. And there are also some advertisements by professors, like they're hiring a PhD student or a master student, or you can even just cold email the professor, meaning there is no advertised position. You just read about this person, go to his email and tell him, hey, I am this, I am that, I appreciate your work, I want to do this with you. Let me know if you need my services. And if they want you, they can interview you and hire you. Some, professors that have funding have the ability to hire students on their own. For some other schools like mine, professors do not hire PhD students. The school hires PhD students. So you must understand each school, how theirs work, and so on and so forth. Now, something I needed to mention is that something like Commonwealth Shared Master Scholarship. I know a lot of people that has Commonwealth. Right? I got one too, so I was in a group of people that got Commonwealth Shared Masters. I know more than 50 persons, maybe up to 100 persons that got Commonwealth Shared. Out of all of them, the only person I've seen that got Commonwealth with a 2-1, a second class upper, is just one person, just one lady I know. Every other person I know has a first class. So somebody with a 2-2, for instance, going to apply for Commonwealth Shared Masters might not be a smart choice. Even a 2-1 might not really be a very, very smart choice. The time and effort you will spend in preparing the applications, as you are going to see now that applications is a full-time job, the time and effort you spend on it, maybe it's better you spend it on something like Erasmus Mundus, who doesn't focus mainly on your academic background, but looks at your skills mainly, what you have, you're entirely who you are, what you can give to them. It might be better to focus on such and not, to spend your time on going for Commonwealth, because rarely have I seen somebody with less than a first class getting a Commonwealth Shared Masters. For a PhD in the United States, for instance, people with 2-1 get it all the time. Some even people with 2-2 with good research experience, with good, holistic, they look at you, your resilience, your intuition, your inquisitiveness, and the rest of them. These are things that makes a good PhD student, and they look at these things and professor can select you. If a professor needs somebody that can handle a mass spectrometry instrument, and you have worked with it and you're working in that same line, he would prefer to hire you than somebody with a first class that doesn't know how to do it, because this is PhD. You are going to be solving a problem, and he wants to know that you have the skills to solve that problem. For some others, though, they don't even want your skill. I'm still talking about the PhD. They don't want your skill. Like my department that the department is hiring, you don't really know who you're going to work with, right? So you just apply, put your best foot forward. Even if you don't have particular skills, you might still be selected. And when you go there, you learn what the lab you're doing is, what they require, and you learn the skills you need to work in that lab. It's different from some professors that hire by themselves, that have their own funding. Now they will likely go for somebody that has the skills, exact skills they want, so that they don't spend time teaching you. You come and you start researching. I've taken a lot of time to describe different opportunities and show how they differ. But the truth is, I've just, barely touched any of them. And one thing I did when I was, going into the scholarship space is that I took the time to attend webinars on any particular scholarship I want to apply, and I understood it clearly. So if I, for instance, come out today and say I want to discuss Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, I can do a 2-hour webinar just talking about Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I can do a 2-hour webinar talking about Erasmus Mundus. So for each of them, this is just a general seminar, right? Webinar. For each of them, you need to go deep and understand this particular application, how it is, what it wants, and all those. There are so many things I've not told you about Erasmus Mundus. For instance, I have not said that there is the partner country and the program country. That's something you must know. If you are in Nigeria and you're applying as a program country applicant, you just wasted your application, because that's not the category you need to apply for, and all those things. So you need to go into each and every one of them and understand them very, very well before you make an application. It's better to make one good application than to make 10 useless applications. So that's something you need to keep in mind. But just not to spend so much time on this, we go over to the next thing: is how do you source these scholarship opportunities? How do I even know about them? Well, one of the ways you do is by attending webinars, which is what you are doing now. That's good. Like I said, this is a general webinar. We discuss everything. There are specific webinars that people organize. I've done some in the past too, where they pick a particular scholarship and they talk about it. One thing I think I need to mention is, I've said it earlier, that scholarship application is a full-time job. And one thing you cannot afford to do when you're applying for scholarship is to be lazy. You cannot just be lazy. It will not work, right? If you're going out for scholarship, you must be determined. You must make up your mind that I want a scholarship. Make some sacrifices for it and apply for it to get it. If not, you might not be able to get one. I said might. You might still be able to get one, but the chances are actually much, much lower. So talking about webinars, I remember when I was, when I got intentional about scholarships, I remember one day I was traveling. I was a medical sales rep in Nigeria. I was traveling from Then I was also a student in UNN. I went for my work at Onitsha, and there is this webinar on chevening. A lady that just got chevening was hosting a webinar to talk about what she did, what she did not do, and all those things. And that day, my battery was not full, my battery was low. The efforts I made to attend that webinar was that, going from hospital to hospital, which is what the medical sales rep does. Once I leave a hospital, I turn off my phone. When I get to the next hospital, I turn it on. After discussing with the doctors, I turn off my phone. That's practically what I did all the way. And by the time it was evening when the webinar was starting, I was heading back from Onitsha to Nsukka, and I had to join that webinar on the bus, put on my headset and join it. That was how I saved battery. It's so funny that sometimes you host a webinar and you advertise it and do everything, and you call people to come, and after the webinar somebody now comes to your DM and say, oh, I missed the webinar, can you please share with me the things you discussed? I'm like, I spent 2 hours of my life hosting a webinar to educate you on what you need to do that you didn't pay for, and when I'm done, you are asking me to spend, say, 30 minutes telling you everything I discussed. So if 30 people missed it, or 30 persons come to my DM and I spend 30 minutes on each of them, that's insane. So sometimes the excuses you give, I've lived in Nigeria and I understand. I did not have light. I've been in a situation where I did not have light and I need a webinar, and I still attended. I still found the way, like the one I said, I had to turn off my phone. I made sacrifices, right? If I'm working for a company, which I was then, and we have a Zoom meeting, you can never tell your boss that I didn't have light. You knew about this meeting coming up. If you don't have power, you look for a way to charge your phone. If you cannot charge your phone, you turn off your phone to save power. You just make the effort to attend the meeting. You can never tell your company, I didn't attend, I don't have light. So when you come and say, I don't have light, that's why I didn't attend the webinar, that's, for you, that's a good excuse. For me, I know that's a useless excuse, because I've been in that situation and I knew that when I was applying for scholarships, I would never give that excuse of I didn't have light. So you must show that you are serious when you are doing this thing. It's something you are doing for yourself. If you start getting paid for scholarship, you will never share the money with the person hosting the webinar, right? So it's something you must bring out time to do. You talk about blogs and vlogs. You need to watch them as much as you can to learn about scholarships. You need to read as much as you can. You attend graduate school fair. These ones are usually hosted or held by schools in the United States before the application. I just posted the one of my schools some weeks ago. Before the application day, they organize, the people that are in the selection committee comes and tell you about the application. Now, you can ask specific questions to the people that will review your application, the people that will select people. You cannot ask them one-on-one question and they tell you this is exactly what we are looking for. So that's like the best opportunity for you to really understand how to get that scholarship, because they are telling you this is what we are looking out for, this is what you should do. So you get the detailed requirements. Also, in those webinars, you can request for application fee waiver, and they can give you a fee waiver code that you can use to apply without paying application fee. So it's really important to attend such fairs. Another way is by joining scholarship groups. And then whenever I talk about this, people usually say, so which scholarship group should I join, and all this and all that. Like, I understand that sometimes it's very difficult to find out where to start. But to be frank, in today's world, I don't really see people asking these questions. If you go to Twitter today and you join a particular topic, you start listening to that topic, before you know, you stumble on a group, somebody saying, join my Telegram channel. It's always there, right? Join my Telegram channel to get more about trading and all those things. It's there. For scholarship, is there. As much as you are conversant or you are always eager to search about scholarships, you definitely find groups. When you get into one group, you see another person advertising another group. From there, you join so many groups. From there, you meet so many persons. From there, you form your own community. That's something we did when we were looking for scholarship. When we started, we are like 5 of us who started a scholarship group called MSF, More Youth Scholarship Forum. We started it even though then only one of us had a scholarship, the 4 of us didn't, but we were applying and we even formed our own group, and we recruited some people into the group. I can tell you categorically that in less than that same year that we formed the group, all of us that formed the group got scholarships, every single person. Then the first generation of people recruited in the group, in at most 3 years, every one of them also got scholarships. So later on, so many people started joining that we are not really there for the scholarship, that we are just there for interactions. And many of us grew weak, and we had other things to think about, to worry about. So the group more or less become, say, dormant. Okay. So the point is, once you get into a scholarship group, you can identify like minds. You find your co-seekers. You can make communities with them, even from your own groups. One thing you gain from these groups is that whenever a scholarship is opening, you see people sharing links, 24/7. I think the first scholarship group I joined was the First Class Leaders Network, which is a platform for people who graduated with first class in Nigeria and in fact in Africa. I think that's probably one of the biggest scholarship groups in the world, the First Class Leaders Network. So from there, I joined the International Hotspot Scholarship Forum and the rest of them. And from in those groups, it's hard to spend 2 minutes without seeing a new scholarship update drop. Like, there are thousands and thousands of scholarships in the world, and you see people who are researching 247 to find these opportunities and posting. Like, you see back-to-back updates. I left some of those groups. Sometimes when you get scholarships, they move you from that group to a mentors group and all those. So I left some of those groups. So I don't even have access to them anymore. The point is that you can find like minds in groups, and you can form your own groups, and you can make your group as active as you want. Let me say this: it's better for you to join a group where you have many people who are applying for scholarships than to apply to a group where you have so many people who have gotten scholarships. If you go to a group where people have gotten scholarships, they don't share scholarship updates. I cannot, for instance, ever go and start looking for which scholarship is open. I will never ever do it again. I'm not looking for any scholarship again in my life, right? The place you see scholarship updates is the people who are looking like you, who are searching. That's where you see back-to-back updates. So I know people that are always like, oh, add me to this. I would be like, that group will not even help you. Everybody in that group now, the only thing they are discussing is which car should I buy? And when are you getting married? This one. How? That's the thing. This one is building a house. That's the only thing you hear in those groups. If you want a group where you see scholarship updates, go to groups where people are seeking. Now, I also want to talk about another place to get scholarship updates is on X, formerly Twitter. I know that Twitter is a place where we go for basbos. Me, personally, that's my go-to place. Whenever I feel tired and stuff, I go to Twitter to watch. I am not the graduation. I am the friend of the graduate. I one person now come and say, I am the graduation. So yes, that's what we do on Twitter. But let me tell you honestly, Twitter can be more than just basbos and violence, right? In Twitter, you can see opportunities. I know those days, Twitter was one of the places I would always go and find updates on scholarships and stuff. So make very good use of these platforms. If you're on LinkedIn, it's another place. Many professors will advertise their positions on LinkedIn, and you can apply to them. There are some mistakes. I think I made a video earlier about mistakes that people make when they see advertised positions. Somebody will start asking the professor, can I get your email address so I can email you? Can I am available, and all those mistakes that people make. I already made a video about that, so I wouldn't really go ahead and talk about all those. But if you get on Twitter and you see an opportunity, the first thing you do is to go research the person making that announcement. If you see the person's name is Chukwuma DK, University of Chester, just copy Chukwuma DK, University of Chester, go to Google, paste it, you will find the person, or just go to the University of Chester, go to the person's department, look at the list of faculty, you will see him. You will go there and you find the opportunity, you find his research and everything, and you know how to send him an email. Not like to go start responding him right there on the platform saying I'm available as if he's doing giveaway. It's not giveaway, okay? In everything, the highest resource you have to get scholarships is Google. I don't know what the world looked like some 20, 25 years ago that Google did not exist. Because practically now, there is nothing you want to do that you don't get on Google. Okay? If you want to apply for a school, for instance, just go to Google. It takes you less than 10 minutes to get whatever you want. Just go to Google. And we are going to do a very quick exercise right now. Let's go to Google and try to apply for not a scholarship this time, but just for admission in a school. And because I know some people don't even know how to go applying for admission. So now I'm opening up my browser. Let's say I go to this and I want to search for, say, which university should we use? Let's say University of Chester. Okay. Let's say I want to apply for MSc Biotechnology. I just go here and say, it's already here, Biotechnology MSc. I click. Wait. Yeah, Biotechnology MSc University of Chester. Just click here. It opens up to you. It didn't take me several minutes. You can make inquiries about the program if you want. You can look at your self courses if you have one. You can look at going down here. You can look at apply as a home student, no, apply as an international student. Yes, you can request a prospectus. You can, do so many other things you want. You can look at the overview of the course you want to apply. Just click here and it shows you everything about when the course will start, how long it takes, this. It tells you everything about what you need to know about the course. If you go back here, you say, what would you study? It tells you clearly, gives you all the modules you are going to study, all the, the curriculum of the course. It's all there listed for you, right? What you will learn, it will tell you, it's already here. Sorry, I don't think that's open. What you will learn is already here for you. You can click on each of these and find exactly what this program will teach you, or how you will learn rather. Yeah, how you learn. Your future career, it gives you details on all of these things. It's good to read all these things. Whenever I'm applying for anything, I read every single page, because when you understand the career path that this program sets for you, and when you are writing the application and it says discuss your career plan, you already know what this program wants for you. So you adapt it to what it is, right? And so many other things. And if you want to submit an application, you just go to apply as international student, click on it. It opens for you. It tells you before making an application, you need to decide which course and all those things. You go back down here, you see it gives you, when submitting your application, you must also provide additional documentation. This includes academic transcripts. I'm going to discuss this, proof of English language. It even recognizes WAEC. Because some people who used to say, I don't have TOEFL, I cannot apply. It even recognizes WAEC or any standard 12 exam. It says about your academic reference, your statement of purpose. It's as if these people already saw the slide I prepared. Copy of your passport and the rest of them, they are all there. If you now go to apply now, and it opens the form, I guess, for you to fill. Oh, it says, have you previously? No. Have you been sent? No. Okay, now it opens a form. You fill your first name, last name, date of birth, you continue, and you keep filling, and you get the rest of until you finish the application. It's that simple. I don't want to fill my information because I'm not looking, so I guess it's time to go back. How do I go back? Wait, what? I don't understand. Okay. Can you hear me, Dr. Ray?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, I think I need to share my screen. I don't.
I'm seeing your screen.
I think maybe sometimes this can be confusing. Just please give me a second. I would figure this out. Oh, it's been a long time I used Zoom. That's the problem.
Okay, what we'll do, let's see if
Let me just stop sharing it and share it.
yes, stop sharing. Yes, I can.
Or maybe if I click here, it might pop up. You know what? Let's not waste the time.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I just needed to open my PowerPoint and then sorry about that. So going ahead, you've seen how you can source opportunities and how you can even apply. I know a friend um who paid an agent then when I was still in Nigeria, paid an agent 60K to get her admission in UK. And the very same school she paid 60K to get admission in the UK, I applied for admission and got admission in 2 days. I got like there's something we call unconditional offer. I got unconditional offer in 2 days. It's as simple as what I just showed you, but people pay, then like 4 or 5 years ago, it was 60K. Now people can pay up to 100K or more just for somebody to do exactly what I just showed you to do now. It's, these things are not that difficult as we think it is. The next question people ask is, what documents do I need? It seems to be overwhelming that you need to write GRE. Sometimes you talk with people about scholarship, they say, I don't have money to write GRE. And I'm like, what are you applying for that you're talking about GRE? What documents do you really think you need to even make an application? It's very, very simple. To make applications, you just need your passport. You just saw it from the website of University of Chester. You need your student transcript, and you need your degree certificate. Not even mandatory. Some schools allow you to apply, but whenever you get to the university, you can, to the school, if you get selected, you can present your degree certificate. So even if you just graduated but you don't have your certificate, you have, let's say, statement of result and stuff, you can use it to make application. That's exactly what I used to apply for Commonwealth, and I got it, right? So, and then for the essay part of it, you just need your CV, your statement of purpose or statement of motivation as required by the school, and you need recommendation letters. This is all you need to make applications. In fact, to be frank, what you need to start making applications is your passport. That's for sure. Every application wants you to have your passport before you apply. And you need a copy of your student transcript. Sometimes, even if your student transcript is not available, if you can get your lecturers, course advisor, HOD, or whoever, to make a list of the courses you took, your grades, and stamp and sign it, you can use it to apply. And then tell them that you will make it available before the program starts if you're selected. Right? There are different things. These are just the two things I would say is mandatory for you to start writing your applications. By the time you submit an application, of course, you need your CV. And the SOP is something that comes with the application you are writing. They will tell you the SOP you need to write, and then you write it, and then recommendation letters follows it. This is just what you need to make applications. But however, if you need to go further to prove your English competency, which is optional, everything here is optional. You might need to write TOEFL or IELTS. You just saw in the University of Westchester that they accept WIEC. I mean, that tells you that 90% of international students in that school are Nigerians. For them to specifically list WIEC, meaning Nigerians have bothered them so much about I have WIEC and all that they even listed WIEC on their main page. Because other school. Oh, sorry, not okay. WIEC is West Africa. Sorry. So yeah, it makes sense. So there are other exams that are also accepted. So you don't say because I don't have TOEFL or IELTS, I cannot make applications. For a school like that and so many other universities I know, they accept a letter from your school saying that you are taught in English. A letter from your university saying that this person was taught in English is accepted as much as that letter comes directly from your registrar and is signed and stamped. They accept it. For you to prove your intellectual capacity, some PhD programs, mostly, I don't know MSc programs requiring GRE, GMAT, I'm not sure, but GRE, some PhD programs in United States and Canada require that you write GRE. I have my personal reservations about GRE and whether it is necessary or not, but that's the way it is, right? So some requires it, some doesn't. One of the things people do, I know this, my friend, one of the people I talked about who was among the first generation of people that joined MSF when we started the scholarship group. This guy, he had a 2-1, right? He didn't have a first class, but he was so determined that when I was going to apply for a PhD, I was like, I want to know schools that doesn't require GRE because I don't have time to write any exam. He sent me a document he compiled himself of schools in the United States that are waiving GRE for the year. I was like, how did you get this? He said he was going to graduate fair, he was going to websites of schools, digging deep, he was making his own research, made a compilation of more than 30 to 50 schools that are waiving GRE in his course. in chemistry, in microbiology. I was so impressed. I told this guy that, guy, the way you're taking this thing, I don't see you not getting scholarship this year, getting PhD. And he was like, let's see how it goes. I mean, less than 2 months after that conversation, he got, I think, 3 different PhD offers, and he now has the choice to pick one out of the three. I thought 3 or 2, I'm not sure. I think 2, but the last one, he was still waiting for their decision then. Okay, but he has just a 2-1, no MSc, just with his BSc 2-1. He got different PhD offers. That's how much hard work pays, right? When you start putting in hard work into application, you yourself will know. Anybody around you see you will know that, this guy, his turn done almost reach. That's how it is. I don't want to talk so much about this. So the point is, you don't really need too much documentation. I think the most important thing, and which was like a hindrance for me back then, was passport. I didn't have a passport, but the time I got serious about making application, I had to go get a passport. I also didn't have my student transcript. I had to also apply to the school to get my student transcript. So this student transcript is the one that you can get, keep for yourself, use it to make applications. If you are selected for any school, they will now tell you to tell your school to send them directly that transcript before they can, proceed with your application. Now that we've seen what you need, the documents, let's talk about a very important topic: statement of purpose, personal statement, statement of interest, intent, motivation letter. What are these? How do I start writing it? What should I include? How do I organize it? Maybe you see yourself like this guy in this image when you think about statement of purpose. That's how I felt initially. Or maybe no, I didn't feel like this because this is olden age. I felt the modern era of it. I felt like this guy. You don't know how to start. Let me start by saying that so many people, professors, and so have come to this, differentiate between statement of purpose, personal statement, motivation letter, and the rest of them. I am not an expert in that field, so I will not say what I don't know. Whatever they describe, it is fine and good. My own is, at the end of the day, what you need to do is to stick to the prompts you are given for it. I think the only thing I can say for sure is that when you see a letter attached to anything, it says statement letter or motivation letter or whatever, as much as there is letter, I think that you should write it in letter format. Write it the same way you write a formal letter, right? But if it is just statement, personal statement, statement of intent, you can write it as any other essay, right? You don't need to write it in letter format. That's the only thing I can say about it. But as to these people say this one you need to take a personal approach to it, this one you need to take a professional, that one I don't know, and I won't discuss what I'm not very good at. But one thing you need to think about is who funds this scholarship and what is their mission. I've already discussed that. For you to write a statement, whichever essay, generally I'll be calling them essays, application essays, for you to write any, think about what is the mission of the people that are funding this. It helps you to know what to write and not. Another thing you need to think about is the prompts for these essays. What are the prompts for these essays? Most applications you write have a prompt. Okay, almost 95 to 99% of applications, if you're asked to write something, they tell you what you need to write about. The prompts generally, the things you see in them includes your motivation for the program, your qualifications for the program, your career plan after you finish the program, how this program will change your life. These are like the important things that they have. But in every single essay you write, you have a different prompt, and you should closely follow that prompt. The best thing is not like to just be looking at the prompt and writing it sentence by sentence. No. The best thing you need to do is write a whole essay, pour out yourself, put everything into the writing, write as much as you can, discuss everything clearly as you can discuss it. And then look at that prompt and then use it to start deleting the things you think are not necessary, are not important. When you delete the ones that are not important, you have the ones that are important that, addresses the prompts. And then you now start trimming it down. So most applications, we want you to write 500 words, 300 words, 2 pages, 1 page, and so on and so forth. Don't just limit yourself. Just write extensively whatever you can, and then start trimming it until you get it down, removing irrelevant points, and then even compressing the relevant points to be more concise to fit in the word count. It takes a long time to write applications. I'm now going to switch again to show you prompts for all the scholarships I've gotten and even the ones I didn't get. Maybe if we have enough time, I'll show you each of them, show you the prompts, and tell you how you need to approach these prompts when you're writing these essays. So let me see. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll come back to this after showing that. So let's switch once again. So I have here a list of different scholarships, their prompts. Let's start with Chevening, since it's the first one I talked about. You see, when you're making a Chevening application, you have to write 4 different essays. Each of these 4 essays shows clearly the mission of Chevening. I already mentioned that Chevening wants you to make an impact in leadership of your country. No wonder the very first essay you write for Chevening is called the leadership essay. Here they say Chevening is looking for individuals that will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet these requirements using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answer. The minimum is 50 words, the maximum is 500 words. This is on the Chevening, when you make a Chevening application, you get to a point where you see this prompt. And to address this, you must have to write concisely to address this prompt. They want you to give, using specific examples, describe how you've demonstrated leadership, because we are looking for leaders. So if you've done anything in leadership, whether school politics, whether course rep in your school, whether you are the firstborn of the family, how you support your siblings and show yourself as a leader, it could be anything. I mean, something you think is nothing could be something when you write well about it. So just being the first son of your family or the first daughter of your family, if you could use it to make a case of why you are a good leader. If you are the student union government president in your school, you could use it to make a good case of why you're a good leader. You need to state specific examples and show clearly how you demonstrated that. The next thing it talks about is networking, which is of course also linked to leadership. They want you to talk about your we are looking for people with strong professional relationship building skills, who will engage with the community, influence others, this and that. They want you to specifically state how you have demonstrated clear examples of that. And so you must give specific examples and show exactly how you have demonstrated what they're asking you to say, right? Another one is now study in the UK. It says outline why you have selected or choosing 3 universities. So I didn't mention earlier that Stephen, you must select 3 universities, courses taught in the UK, and apply for them. Explain how this relates to your previous academic and professional experience and your plans for the future. Please do not duplicate the information you have entered on the work experience and education section of this form. Okay, then the last one is the career plan. This achievement is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate career plans upon returning to your home country and your longer-term career plans. You may wish to consider how this can relate to what the UK government is doing in your country. Now you can clearly see everything in these prompts shows what Chevening is looking for. They are asking you to say your career plan, link it to what the UK government is doing in your country. So you cannot be writing them a career plan which does not show what you are going to do back in your country. It must be something done back in your country. And not just that, it must be something the UK government is interested in. So to write this essay, I can remember that I actually took time to start reading several documents, start listening to news, start reading blogs on the plan of the UK government for Africa, for Nigeria, in the particular year that I was applying. I actually also attended their webinar where the lady clearly explained that these are the places UK government is putting money in Nigeria. And I had to write specifically on those, tweak my application around what the UK government is doing. Unfortunately, I didn't get this scholarship anyway. This is for Chevening. Let me go back to my slide before I continue for the rest of them, because there is something I want to highlight. So here, I said that you need to star your experiences. So whenever they ask you, like the ones you've seen in Chivening now, they say write and give specific examples on how you've done this and this and that. You need to adopt the star approach when you write your experiences. What is star? Situation, task, action, result. So situation is more or less state the problem statement. Now, whatever I'm telling you now about the STAR approach is something you use in any, not just in this one, in any academic writing you do. You are talking about your experiences. Also, when you go for interviews, they don't just ask you, can you talk to us about a time when you demonstrated resilience in what you do, or you demonstrated determination in what you do, and you just start saying, let me use a better example. Can you show a time when you demonstrated leadership in helping your peers overcome a problem? And then you just start by saying, oh, I overcome my peer, I help my peers to pass this exam and this exam. That's not how you answer that question. Whether it's an interview, whether it's in written form, whichever one it is, the first thing for you to talk about is the problem. Start by writing or by saying that during my undergraduate courses, I discovered that 500 students failed Chem 111 because of the teachers teaching approach, or whatever you say. That's the problem you've identified. 500 people failed this course from earlier years. So there is a problem. The very next thing you need to talk about is, what is the task? Some people usually confuse task and action. They are not the same. Task is what needed to be done, not what did you do, what needed to be done. So now the problem was that I noticed that 500 people failed this particular course. The next thing, the task is, I understood that for us to solve this problem, we needed to have an informal tutorial where somebody, an external person, has to lecture us again on this course. That is the task. That is what needed to be done. To solve this problem, we need somebody else to hold us on tutorials. Then the next thing is action. What did you do? I organized or I arranged for my senior colleague to teach us on this course during the evenings. That is the action that you took. Finally, the result. What impact did you have? Following these tutorials, 95% of my classmates passed this course with an A, while the other 5% passed with a C. That is the impact. That's the result. This is how you answer questions during interviews. And for this webinar, I'm not going to discuss interview. I believe that when you get to the interview, you can do your mock on interview. Let's talk about how to even get to the interview first. So I don't have any part for the interview in this. But just in case you are going for interview and you are asked questions, you don't just jump on a question. You organize your thoughts. You first of all talk about the problem, talk about the task, talk about the action you took, and talk about the results from it. And when you write essays, it's still the same thing. Now, in essays, because you have 500 words, let's say you are sharing 2 experiences. Of course, it's not just 1 sentence for it. It might be 3 sentences to describe clearly the situation, 2 other sentences to describe the task, 4 sentences to show your action, then the last 2 sentences to show the result. Then you move over to the second experience. You can share 1 or 2 experiences. Better to share 1 or 2 than to share 3, 4, and you did not detail them. This is something you need to follow. Another one, when you are asked to write objectives, and I can show you an example of when you are asked to write about your objectives in the Commonwealth shared essay, you need to be smart in your approach. Smart means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. So let's say for Commonwealth, and I'm going to show you in a minute, you are asked to say, what do you hope to achieve from so by studying in Commonwealth shared scholarship? What do you hope to achieve? That's what's your objective for taking on this scholarship, right? You must say something specific. You cannot start by saying you're applying for MSc biotechnology. You tell them that, oh, I want to solve the problem of diseases. you want to take away disease from the world. Ada Jesus. You want to take away disease from the entire world. That's impossible. You are not even being specific. You need to specifically say that I want to address the problem of infant diabetes. Infant diabetes, not even just diabetes. I want to address the problem of neonatal diabetes. Right now, you are being very specific about
sorry. It just reminded me of on our graduate days where I used to organize tutorials.
Yeah, true, true. I cannot forget, you know, I think that was when you were, I think you started that when you were doing your master's in MOAU, right? Oh, in your undergraduate. Oh, sorry, I didn't know about your undergraduate. I didn't join during your undergraduate. I know during my undergraduate that you were doing tutorials for us. Um, yeah, that's true. So, like I said, um, you need to be specific, know exactly the problem you want to tackle, and based on it. Don't start discussing diabetes and at some point you now start talking tuberculosis. It doesn't rhyme. You pick a particular problem in Commonwealth, and I'm showing you in a minute. You have like 11 to 13 essays you must write. These essays have different questions, but in each of the questions, no matter how the question comes, you must show exactly that same problem you want to tackle. For me, I chose the topic of diabetes, and I stick on diabetes all through the the essays, and I got the scholarship. So don't be confused. Pick a specific problem and focus on it. The next thing is measurable. You don't just say I will achieve something. You must give ways that people can measure if you're actually achieving it. So if you are saying that I want to I want to reduce diabetes by 30%, you must show how we can track if you can reduce diabetes by 30%. It's either by, for me, I think then I started the World Diabetes Atlas, which is a yearly publication on diabetes in every single country and how it is moving. I started that as an example. I actually used all my figures because I stated the problem by talking about diabetes. I focused on neonatal diabetes, and I cited the problem of neonatal diabetes, and I showed clearly, how this um the statistics of this problem, and I showed exactly what I want. I said clearly that this diabetes is, let's say, 50% of neonates in Nigeria, that by so year I want to reduce it to 15%, and that you can find out this by going to the diabetes atlas in so place. I clearly stated that, you know um achievable. It's kind of, I already talked about it in specific. You don't make claims that you cannot do something. I just said that I reduce diabetes from 50% to 15%. It's not achievable. That's not what I said anyway. I'm just giving a vague example, right? You say something that, is this possible, is it attainable? You don't just say I will take away disease from the world. You can't do it. Nobody can do it. So you don't just say something. You must say something that they see reasonably this can be achieved. Relevant. I guess in the evening, they already told you that they want something that the UK government is interested in. Here as well, you think about who are sponsoring this, what is relevant to them. So I cannot come now and say I want to remove the problem of malaria in United States. Say, for instance, I'm writing on United States, and I said my destiny is to remove malaria from United States because there is no malaria in United States. If there is anybody having malaria in the United States, it's not up to 0.00001% of the population. It's not even a problem in the first place, so it's not relevant. You must find something that is a relevant problem that you want to solve, and you stick to that. Time bound. You must show when you need to achieve this objective. Somebody saying, I will become a professor. Well, of course, even if after 100 years you've not become a professor, nobody can hold you accountable because you are still alive, right? So you need to show that from now to now, in the next 3 years, in the next 4 years, and that's how I write my essays. Like whenever they talk about your career plan, I state clearly that by 2024, I would be this, I would do this. By 2026, I would have achieved this. By 2028, I would have achieved this. I clearly state when I need to achieve each and every goal that I state. And that's how other people who have gotten, these scholarships did it. So you need to really learn how to use this smart approach in your objectives and the star in your experiences. So now let's go back to, the prompts for different essays that you are writing. You just saw that of Chevening, and you see what it looks like. One of the scholarships I got is Erasmus Mundus, and I'm going to open up the prompts for Erasmus Mundus. Here, you have two statements to write. You have a personal statement and a motivation statement. It says a personal statement up to 2048 characters is required. This is like around 350 words if you have the regular, words. It says this is to give the selection committee a chance to get to know you, your aspirations, interests, experiences, and talents, professional and academic personnel. Describe your particular skills and abilities that make you an excellent candidate for MCAL. Describe any previous experiences related to the subject of the matter, either academic or professional. If relevant, describe your current and or previous employment position and duration. If you have written any scientific publications, mention these and upload PDF copies. The motivation, they say the same thing. Explain why you are applying to this course. Include your academic interest, why you have chosen this subject, what does interest you, especially about about the course. Link these ideas to your chosen career. Why are you interested in studying in Europe? Why are you well prepared for studying in Europe? And any foreseen, do you foresee any personal problems, financial, family, cultural, etc.? You see that the prompt for these essays are totally different from that of Chevening. In fact, the prompt for each Erasmus Mundus program is different from the rest of the Erasmus Mundus programs. So I've seen so many cases where somebody sent me an essay for review. And by the way, I'm no longer reviewing essays so that you don't send me essays again. I am not that I don't want to, but I'm kind of in a very busy place now. So I remember those days when I do review that somebody comes and send me an essay and say, please, can you help me review this essay? No prompt. And I'll be like, can you send me the prompt for this essay? And the person is asking, what is prompt? I clearly described to you that go to the website where you saw this essay, start the application process. At a point, you will see where they will tell you what you need to write about. Just copy it and paste it in the document and send it back to me. And the person is like, just review it like that, just leave it. And I see that this person is not applying for scholarships. And I just tell the person, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't have time. I am really busy now. I say, oh, okay, no, it's not urgent. You can do it in next week, 2 weeks. No, don't worry. I wouldn't even have time in next year because I see that you are just wasting my time. You don't even have a prompt. You don't even have the time to go get the prompt from the essay. You just push up anything and you send it to me to waste my time reviewing. How can you review an application when you don't know what the person is asked to write about? So, assuming you've written something and this is the prompt, and you are using something that should have been sent to the Chevening essay, it doesn't make sense. It wouldn't work. You are just wasting time. They know exactly what they want, and whatever they want reflects the missions of the scholarship you're applying for. So you must stick to that. The next one I want to share with you is the Commonwealth essay prompts. Now I told you that Commonwealth you write up to this is like 14 different essays, although some of them is just a list. This is like list your academic awards and prizes, 250 words, employment responsibility. This is more like detailing your CV because you are not submitting a CV as part of this application. Now look at the first essay here. Development impact 1, 200 words. How your choosing study relates to development issues at the global, national, and local level. Development issues connected to your choosing Commonwealth team and the wider sector. Another question is development impact 2. How you intend to apply your new skills and qualifications when you return home. Now, remember that Commonwealth wants you to return home. You can clearly see these things even from the prompts. The next one, development impact 3. What you expect will change in development times following your studies, including the outcome that you want to achieve, the time frame for this implementation, who the beneficiaries will be. Sometimes you might get confused. What is different between this one and this one and this one? They are really different. You need to spend time writing these essays. They have development impact 4. How the impact of your work will be measured. I already discussed these things when I talk about the SMART approach. They have the objective during the award. Describe the skills that you want to gain, your career plans once you return home. Then the career plan for 5 years. This is the midterm career plan. Then they have the long-term career plan. Then contact with the previous universities. That one, you need to know what it means when you start applying to Commonwealth because you need to contact the university before you apply to Commonwealth. You apply to Commonwealth, and then you tell them which university you apply to, and they will send your documents to the university. You must know these things. You can't just start application without going deep into the application because if you apply to just the university or just to Commonwealth, you will not get it because you need to apply to the school, apply to Commonwealth, tell in your application to Commonwealth, you tell them which university you have applied to. Commonwealth will now give them the application number. Commonwealth will now forward your documents to the school, and the school will select you. The whole emphasis here is that you need to know exactly what the process is all about. Study outline, the first study outline, the detailed study outline, personal statement, voluntary and leadership experiences. You need to write all of this, and I wouldn't go into details. I might share my personal statement for this with you. Of course, like I said, I've detailed. I wrote all of these other ones, but I will share, if I have the time, I'll share this personal statement with you. Of course, this personal statement is already online. I posted it online, and I know a lot of people have used it to write theirs. I can remember a specific situation where somebody sent me his essay to review, and I saw that he just copied my personal statement and sent back to me. He got it online, right? Many people have used it, and I'm like, I don't have a problem with you doing this, but if you can copy this statement, think of how many other people have copied it. And if these schools, you know, run plagiarism and find out that the document you submitted, there is 90% plagiarism and 3,000 other people have used it, you know what you're doing to yourself. So I don't mind sharing it, just for you to know that it's just for you to see how to write the statement. It's not for you to go and copy and paste, because if you do it or just change a little things, keep the main idea, they will still fish you out, and don't hold me responsible for any of, whatever you do to yourself. Is there any other one I wanted to share? This is my PhD, for instance, the prompts. Now, something I want to talk about is, you see some people, when they see an essay is 300 words, they feel like, oh, 300 words is something I can just write overnight, and they write it overnight and they send it, please help me review it. And I'll be like, it is much, much easier for you to write a 2-page essay than a 300 words essay. 300 words essays are the hardest to write, because two pages say you can put just anything and fill space. 300 words, you will still address each and every prompt, and you will compress it into 300 words. That's like how you fish out when you say top-notch writers, is if they can be able to replicate an essay in 300 words, something they've written in 2 pages, if they can compress it to 300 words without losing any main idea, that's how you know who is a good writer. So if you see any essay that is 300 words, or the ones I show you that are 200 words, don't just write it anyhow. Spend time writing it. Application essays are not something you write overnight. My Commonwealth shared application I showed you, although it wasn't the only application I was making. I was making so many applications at the same time. But the truth is that from the time I started writing that application, those 15 essays you see there, till the time I finished it, it took me over 1 year. So don't think that you want to get scholarship. Some people, and that's one mistake I want to highlight. I think when I got my scholarship, when I was going to move, I went to Lagos for visa processing and all those things. So the guy I was staying with is his roommate. This guy was telling me, Darlington, I need to leave Nigeria now. I need to leave in the next 2 months. And I was like, okay, I will tell you how to go about making an application. He said, I need to write it like tonight for me. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. If it worked that way, everybody would have left. Me personally, that you see that I got scholarship, I got multiple scholarships, and you think, if you can get multiple scholarships, I will get. You know how long I stayed in scholarship space? The first time I joined for Scholarship Leaders Network was in 2018, when I was doing my NYSC. 2018. I stayed there for 2 years without making a single application. I was just, passively reading the things coming up in the group. Sometimes they post things, I read it. Sometimes they share their experiences, the mistakes they made in the application, and how they finally got one. I was kind of passively reading those things, not like actively involved. For 2 years, I didn't make a single application. By the time it was 2020, when I made my first application, I had understood the scholarship process very, very well. Like, I could even hold a seminar on scholarships before I made my first application, right? So it takes time. And even at that, I took time to write my applications. I didn't say, let me apply for the scholarship that is the next thing. I started in January 2020 to make my application, because we were on strike. I was doing my master's, we were on strike. But I was targeting the applications that you will leave in August 2021. I had almost 2 years to prepare for the application. Those applications, I will shoot them by around this time, October 2020, and my if I am selected, I will leave by next year, August. So I have like 2 years. And I was preparing. And I see people who will just come up and they say, oh, I want to apply for this scholarship. The process ends this month. Selection is next month. I will go to the school next 3 months. Well, you can try it. If you can pull it off, that's good. But the truth is, if you want to get scholarship, you need to spend time. Spend time writing your application. Spend time studying it. So here, the personal statement is just 300 words for a PhD scholarship that normally says 2 pages. Here they say only 300, and you will answer all of this, address all of them. Write about your current goals, career plans, explain why your reasons for choosing chemistry, describe your subfield of chemistry, explain why you're interested in this department at Auburn, talk about the faculty you want to work with and why you want to work with the person. Every single thing they described here, you will finish it. And remember that you are not just, so this is for all the application. You are not trying to address these prompts word by word as they are listed. You are trying to tell a story, a coherent story, an interesting story. But at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you've addressed each and every prompt. It mustn't go in order. You might start by talking about the professor you want to work with, and then show why you even started. I mean, you can arrange your essay however you want. The only thing is, at the end of the day, make sure that everything they said you should talk about in the prompt, that you've addressed it. Even add other points if you want. For instance, talking about how you are prepared for these and all those are also important. You can write about them, but just make sure you've addressed the prompts at the end of the day. We also have accomplishment statements and qualifications, where you are asked to write about your background and how it makes you fitted for the chemistry department. Talk about your previous research experience, employment in chemistry, honors and awards, published works, and all those conferences. So you also have to write every single thing here in 300 words. Whenever they tell you to write all these things in 300 words, they're actually looking for the top-notch writers, because it only takes somebody that knows how to write very, very well. In fact, one thing I learned when I was in Spain, when I was learning Spanish, one thing the professor taught us is the best user of any language is the person that can say the same thing in fewer words. If you can say the same thing that every other person says using the least amount of words possible, you are the best user of that language. You've really understood that language. So that's how it is in writing. If you can say all of these things, not missing any point, addressing all the points in as few words as possible, it makes you, and it doesn't mean use high sounding words. So use regular words that everybody speaks, but don't use too many words. Use the few words possible to describe the whole thing. That's very important. Let me ask Dr. Ray if we have some time, because I've not covered my slide. If we still have some time to share, one of my application statements, so that you can see how I developed my ideas. Dr. Ray, do you think we have some time to do this, or should I just go ahead with the slide? Hello?
Can you hear
Hello?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said we have the whole time. I think we have spent just one.
Oh, I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, at least we have spent 1 hour 22 minutes, so we still have some time.
Oh, okay. So
And
let
moreover,
me.
they can also go back to the video, or the video will be
Oh,
on YouTube.
okay, so I'll be sharing this. So once again, I add another disclaimer that whatever I'm showing you here is a statement I already put out online. You might have even seen several other variants of this essay. The thing, my confidence why I'm sharing it is that I was the first person. I actually wrote it from the scratch on my own. So see anything that looks like it, the person copied me. I didn't copy the person. Okay. So um um can I let me see. Um,
Okay, somebody is asking
Oh, okay.
if we can use ChatGPT to write prompts.
I
The
mean,
person,
oh, sorry.
yes, go ahead.
I mean, you don't write prompts, right? The school provides the
Yes,
prompts. The school
yes,
provides the prompts. All you do is to address the prompts. So if the person is
correct.
asking whether you can use ChatGPT to answer the prompts, like to write your essay, I
The right, no, that's why I felt like the person was not asking the question the right format. So I believe the question should have been, can you use ChatGPT to answer the prompts? But the truth is that you cannot use ChatGPT to answer prompts. You can actually use ChatGPT as a guide to understand the prompt. The prompt will be given by the university in charge. The prompt will be given by the university in charge. So your job is to answer the prompt.
1 minute, please. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, yeah, you are right. You're very, very right. You are not supposed to use AI to write essays. If you write any essay with AI, it's okay. Well, let me say it this way: you can write your essay with AI, but just when you finish, reference it. Say that this essay is written by AI. Okay, so that they will know that it's not your essay, it's AI's essay. Because if they find out that it's not written by you, and because you can't submit another person's work, academic work, right? So the essay is supposed to be written by you. If it's not written by you, then reference whoever wrote it. If you pay somebody to write it for you, say that I paid so person to write it for me. Of course, you know what that means for you. So don't use AI to write your essays.
Okay, let me ask this question though. Let me ask this question.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe for other people to have clarity.
Yep.
Uh, there are, can you write your, can you write your prompt? Like if you ask the prompt, like, can you address the prompt yourself, writing it yourself, and asking AI to structure it for you?
So how do you mean you have the prompt,
You have the
then you
answers to the prompt.
then you write your essay and you ask ChatGPT to restructure it for you?
Yes.
Well, there are, in fact, just yesterday we were talking about that. Right? You know, I think that technically some schools should allow it because this essay was written by you. What AI or ChatGPT did was to restructure it. I am not very, very sure of that. I know that they usually encourage that if you miss AI with your writing in any way, you should disclose it. You should disclose that this essay was edited or restructured by AI, right? So they usually have that request, and they usually have a way to find out anyway, especially if you use AI to restructure the essay and you copy it and you paste. It has this metadata or blueprint stuff in it that they can use to decode that it's AI. Some people encourage that even if you do that, you should retype it. Just look at what it gave you and type it yourself. Don't copy it and put it back in your document, or just also edit whatever it has given you. I wouldn't say concisely or categorically about this question. One thing I do myself personally is that because I don't want long stories, I write my essays simple. I don't ever involve ChatGPT in whatever I do. I can only ask ChatGPT to give me ideas, right? If I am, or even help me find publications that discuss this or discuss that, right? But if it's anything that is academic work I want to write it myself. The only thing I do then was that I use Grammarly, which I also say, okay, now, if you're saying ChatGPT is AI, is Grammarly not also AI? Because we do use Grammarly to look
Yes,
at
grammar is also
spellings.
AI.
Yeah, look at spellings, look at sentence structure, look at where you're using too many words, and also, trim those things down. So we do use Grammarly to, review our essays before we submit. I don't have Grammarly presently, but I did it when I was applying. So sometimes I ask myself, Grammarly is also AI, but nobody, complains about that. But for ChatGPT specifically and other AI tools, they actually say that you shouldn't use it. So that thing is not a very clear area to me. I think that there are some gray areas around it, which maybe a professional in that field should answer the question, not me, because I don't know it very well.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to this application. You see, this is the personal statement from. Please, I need to hide this screen. Just give me a second. This is the personal statement from my Commonwealth shared application. I did so many. I got just one, and this is the one I got. It says, summarize the ways in which your personal background has encouraged you to want to make an impact in your home country. You should indicate areas in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome any personal or community barriers to or in higher education. There's something I forgot to talk about. Whenever you write motivation, don't try to draw sympathy to yours. Don't try to appeal to Messi. That's a fallacy, and you don't do it. Some people start up their essay by saying, I lost my father when I was young. Since then, I've been the breadwinner of the family. Don't do that. Okay? You lost your sister. Don't do that. You can only talk about it if you are trying to build on your motivation to do something. For instance, I talked about the loss of my sister because it is my motivation to want to stop other people from dying in the same way. That's understandable. That's like, it's good to put your emotion in what you are doing. This to show that I am committed to this because I know what it has cost me. But not to start saying, I lost my sister and since then life has been difficult for me. We've not been able to eat and all the, like I literally see people doing it often when they write essays. Don't try to draw Messi to yourself. Focus on the problem. They are looking for the best person, not the person that is suffering. If they want the person that is suffering, they go to see Casey Aba and pick those beggars there and give them the opportunity. They want to find the right person for the program. So don't do anything to draw Messi to yourself and don't tell too much stories. I started this essay by saying, remember I told you that every single thing I wrote, there were 13 essays. From the first to the last, the disease, the problem I want to focus on was diabetes, especially neonatal diabetes. That's the problem I want to focus on. And I've already in the other essays that talk about developmental impact and all those, I've given clear statistics on how many people die of diabetes, how many infants and all those things, show how the problem is big and all those things. So if you read my essays from the first, you see that I was telling the same story going from the first to the last. It's not like I have disjoint ideas, right? So I came here now and I started by saying that the devastating loss of my little sister in June 2021 was my first motivation to improve the prevention, screening, and management of metabolic diseases such as diabetes. I talked about just the day before she died, it was revealed that she had diabetes. Sadly, this is not an isolated event. Death cases from undiagnosed inborn errors of metabolism abound in Nigeria as newborns are hardly screened in public hospitals. I've already given statistics to all this in my previous essays, so I didn't repeat the statistics here again. If not, I would have given the statistics here. Besides this, growing up in a rural community where there is little awareness of the risk factors and preventive strategies for metabolic diseases triggers my desire for quality tertiary education in the biomedical field. My goal is to bring health enlightenment to my community and my country, Nigeria. Now, they said, summarize ways in which your personal background has encouraged you to make an impact in your country. I have showed them that my goal is to bring health enlightenment to my community in Nigeria. And I've showed them that this is due to my personal experience of losing my sister due to unscreened diabetes. I clearly showed these things. I am clearly addressing the prompts. I'm not going off point. They said, indicate ways in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome personal, community barriers to or in higher education. I went ahead to say, I've taken both steps in pursuit of this career aspiration. Now, I want to teach you something about how to write essays. You see, the first paragraph is where you summarize everything you want to write about, especially show your motivation for what you're applying for. The last paragraph is where you summarize whatever you've written, right? It's where you summarize whatever you've written. For each of the following paragraphs, you are trying to build points to support this first and last paragraph, the main body of your work. And the very first sentence of every paragraph is called the topic sentence. The very first, I'm going to pull up some research papers now to show you what I'm talking about so that you don't think it's just my essay. When you write the first sentence of any paragraph, this is what this paragraph is all about. It's called the topic sentence. Every other sentence in this paragraph is just explaining this sentence. The last sentence of the first paragraph summarizes why I am writing this essay, why I'm applying to this program. The first sentence of this paragraph says that I've taken bold steps in pursuit of this career aspiration. It links to, I've already said what I want to achieve. And I started here by saying that I've taken bold steps in pursuit of this career aspiration, which I've already mentioned before. And then this is everything I want to discuss now is what are those bold steps I have taken in support of this career aspiration. I start by saying first, I displayed courage to apply to the university since I was the first to attempt this in my extended family. Due to my inability to sponsor the program, I forfeited my initial admission offer, but undeterred, I reapplied. Taking a part-time job to support my humble family in financing my full-time study was daunting, considering the academic workload. However, despite schooling against all odds, I demonstrated diligence, commitment, and a robust intellectual capacity by graduating with first-class honors and among the best students in my cohort. This experience helped me cultivate skills such as tenacity, resilience, doggedness to meet the challenges I will encounter in my MSc study and my later career. Reflecting on my circumstances and achievements so far, I completely agree with Charles Swindoll's statement that life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. Somebody will say, but you also listing your problems and the things I am doing this because they personally tell me to indicate areas in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome any personal or community barriers to or in higher education. This is specifically what they asked for. And I wasn't dwelling on what I have overcome. You can clearly see that I was showing what I achieved, even though I had challenges. This is something you need to understand. There's a difference between I am trying to dwell on what I am facing and I want you to help me out of this situation. Or I am saying that I face social problems, but I have overcome them, and I'm showing that I have what it takes because I've already overcome challenges in the past. That's exactly what I was doing. I wasn't asking for mercy to help bring me out of my financial situation. I've already overcome it. I even finished it, graduated with the first class honors, even though I had those challenges. That's how you want your essay to sound. Okay, now I went ahead to say, with my goals of effecting improvements in managing diabetes clearly in mind, I have sought opportunities to impact the local communities around me. Look at it. This is a topic sentence. I am showing that I also linked it with the previous paragraph by saying, with my goals of effecting improvement in managing metabolic diseases clearly in mind. So I showed that this is still the same goal I have. Then I said I have sought opportunities to impact the local communities around me. Every other thing you look here or you read here is showing those opportunities I've sought to impact the local communities around me. For example, during my National Youth Service Corps in Ibesa community, I realized that local staple was starchy foods. The villagers were predisposed to diabetes mellitus. In response to this, I initiated the community development project known as Know Your Status, featuring free diabetes training and random blood sugar screening for over 300 attendees. This project made the villagers aware of the predisposition to diabetes and the need for healthy diet and lifestyle. Seeing the impressive results from this training, I made plans to hold the same in my community of origin, but the plans came to a halt following the restriction on large gatherings due to COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let me go back to what I talked about in making starring your, the star approach. See here that I said, I gave only one example of what I did here, right? And I said that during my National Youth Service Corps in this year, I realized that the local staple was starchy foods and the villagers were predisposed to diabetes mellitus. This is the problem. The community I was serving, they eat too much starchy foods. They are predisposed to diabetes. This is the problem. Although in this particular essay, due to lack of word count, I did not talk about the task, what needed to be done. I went directly to action, what I did. And I said, in response to this, I initiated the community development project titled Know Your Status, featuring free diabetes training, random blood sugar testing for 300 attendees. I actually used numbers to show clearly how many people attended. It's not just a vague stuff, right? What are the results? This project made the villagers aware of their predisposition to diabetes and the need for healthy lifestyle and diet and lifestyle. That's the results. They now knew about I did not claim that, and this is the truth. This is something we did. I did not come here and start claiming that with this we treated 300 diabetes patients, which is impossible. What we achieved is that at least people know their status. They know that there is a problem caused diabetes and they need to reduce how they consume starchy foods and sugar. And I went ahead, which is, to talk about, because now this is not in my own community. I said that I wanted to do this again, but I couldn't due to COVID-19 pandemic. Now look at the prompt. It said you should indicate areas in which you have already contributed. This is an area in which I have already contributed to, making the impact that I want to. My impact is I want to stop diabetes and metabolic diseases. Diabetes is a metabolic disease. In conclusion, I am passionate about contributing my quota to address metabolic diseases and advocate improvement in healthcare practices. I hope to achieve this by researching low-cost therapies for the management of such disorders and by training healthcare agents to advance their approach in managing diseases. I seek to influence the government and well-meaning organizations to support these projects and much more to the end of improving the lives of metabolic disease patients in Nigeria, Africa, and globally. This quest is my motivation for pursuing the MSc Biotechnology at the University of West of Scotland. You would actually understand the beauty of this statement, and I believe that this is one of the best essays I've written in my life, if you had read the entire 13 essays I wrote, because almost everything I've said here, I've already hinted on them in the preceding essay. So anybody that reads this statement that have read my essay will see that, oh, so when he talked about so thing, this is what he was referring to. Like, you could link every single of my ideas together to make a complete sense. It's not just an isolated essay. If I go back to my leadership essay where they say, talk about your leadership in Commonwealth, that's the last essay for Commonwealth, you will still see how I now went down to each of these things I did. For instance, when I initiated this Know Your Status, I described the challenges I faced to organize this program, how people resisted, say we cannot do it, and all those. I detailed it. It's still the same, but now I'm talking about it from the aspect of being a leader. So your essays must flow. Now, what I've just shown you, let me tell you this. If you have written an English test, such as TOEFL, right, you would find out that these tests, some people complain that, oh, I couldn't finish reading the passage, therefore I have a low score in the reading. You have the reading, speaking, writing, speaking, and listening. In the reading, some people will not finish the passage and therefore they will get a low score. The question is, why would you want to read it? You don't need to read it. Nobody expects you to read it. You don't need to read any passage. In fact, that's also how I read academic papers. If you understand how to write, you will also understand how to read. And if you know how to read, you know how to write. So the person that is going to review your essay will likely not read every single thing you've written. He knows how to skim essays. If I am to read your essay, the very first thing I will read is the very last sentence of your first paragraph to see what you are writing about. Then I'll read the first sentence of every paragraph. If I read here, I see that, oh, he's talking about the things he have done to pursue his career aspiration, because here he said his aspiration. Yeah, these are things he have done okay, here this is the opportunities he have sought to improve the communities around him, and this is the conclusion. Those are the things I will read. If I think that what you said is interesting, I will now go in and start reading the paragraphs. That's how you write your TOEFL. I wrote my TOEFL, and I think in my reading, I think I got 28/30, because I don't need to read anything. All I need is open them, read the introduction paragraph, especially the last sentence of the introduction, then read the first sentence of every paragraph. I understand everything this topic is talking about, just that I don't understand the specifics of what it says. But I already understand that paragraph 1 is talking about this, paragraph 2 is talking about this, paragraph 3 is talking about this, then this is the conclusion. I go in and start answering the questions. If I now pick a question that has a specific thing, like when the author was talking about this, what did he mean by this? I know exactly where, because I know which paragraph talked about that. I now go to that particular paragraph and look up where that sentence is, and I read it and I understand what he's talking about. That's how you do TOEFL. That's how people read your essay. So if you send an essay and the professor opens it and he reads your first sentences, and you started this sentence by saying one of the things I did was this or that, without first giving a topic sentence showing what this paragraph is all about, then you're not writing well. Then he has no reason to read your essay, right? Let me just show you that what I'm talking about is not just my essay. It is, put up any academic paper. Let me try going online and research the paper. Oh, I even have a paper here already. Let me just use this paper. As much as it's published in a good journal, it's a good example. This paper says yes, biophysics and computational biology, applied biological. So this is a paper I was reading because I work in building sensors, right? Is modular DNA origami-based electrochemical detection of DNA and proteins. Let's leave the abstract. I don't want to go into talking about how to write abstract. I'm just trying to show you that you can read the paper without going sentence by sentence. You see, in the first paragraph, it says DNA nanotechnology enables the design and construction of artificial structures with the nanometer precision via sequence-specific assembly of DNA oligonucleotides. What this paragraph is trying to describe is about design and construction of artificial structures with nanometer precisions for the assembly of DNA of DNA oligonucleotides. Every other thing you read here is explaining this sentence. Here now they start saying such structures are often used as scaffolds, that, thus, this. They keep explaining this first sentence. The next paragraph is another idea. They say reconfigurable origami sensor platforms can be divided into broad classes based on their readout mechanisms, each with each mechanism having advantages and disadvantages. Now he's trying to tell us that everything in this paragraph is going to tell us that there are different classes of reconfigurable origami sensor platforms. Each of them has advantages and disadvantages. The first one they want to discuss is the atomic force microscopy based platforms. They talk about it when you get here. They say AFMs are time consuming measurements. So this is the disadvantage of it. They keep saying, it says, and enable the dissection of sensor states that could otherwise not be resolved. There are so many things, I don't want to go into them. When it finishes here, it goes to another sensor. Another example is the gel electrophoresis based platforms. It talks about it. It talks about the disadvantage. However, these measurements are slow and takes minutes. Everything it discusses, it picks another one, it talks about it, it talks about disadvantages, and it finishes. It goes to the next paragraph and it starts another topic sentence. It says, in contrast to these techniques, an electrochemical platform based on the configuration switching of single-stranded DNAs enable real-time measurements of analysis using inexpensive potential stats. Now it is drawing on this one. It's already told you that these kind of platforms have their disadvantages and advantages. It gives you examples, show their disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is time consuming and expensive. Here is not telling you, okay, now in contrast, there's another technique that is not expensive and it's not time consuming, it makes real-time measurements. Every other thing you read in this paragraph is just explaining this sentence. It's just so if I want to read this paper, I don't need to read any other thing than read the first sentence of every paragraph. I know what he's talking about. You get to a point where they will now say what they were doing in this work. They now say, in this work, we introduce the reconfigurable DNA origami sensor whose molecular architecture. Once I read this, if I now want to know the details of what they did, I don't even need to go here. I just go to their materials and method. The point I'm trying to make is this. In essays, if you're a good writer, you need to have topic sentence at the start of every paragraph. A reader doesn't need to read everything you've written. He will read your topic sentences and he knows exactly what the write-up is all about. If he cannot read your topic sentences and find out, skim your work in 1 minute and understand your work, then you've not written it well. It's the same thing with papers. Just go online now, pick up any paper of your interest, try dissecting that paper. You will find out what I just told you, that every first sentence discusses what the paragraph is all about. So you don't need to read the paragraph except you want the specific details. And that's how you also write your essays. So sometimes you feel you've written everything, but you've written nothing because you didn't even structure your essay very well. And that's something you must learn how to. I think I've spent so much time on writing essays. I have to stop share this time because I don't know how to go back to and then share once again. Please, if I'm running out of time, Dr. Ray, just
Yes,
tell me.
we have about let's say 5 minutes more because
Oh, okay. I will try to
and
wrap up.
I want to appeal. Let me use this opportunity to appeal that you've mentioned so many other scholarship. I don't think I want to appeal if we can have it as a series
Oh,
because
okay.
we have so many undergraduate students also to encourage them do well academically, because some of them are just feeling school has come, school must come slogan. Do you get? So if we also make them want to, if we want to also want to encourage them, like a good 2-1, a good first class can also earn you a place in the scholarship platform, so that we
Yeah,
can
sure.
actually do,
Oh,
so
sorry.
that we can actually go and actually, encourage them, pass the message to them, so that they can join in subsequent webinar, where you now tell them what is available for Chevney, what is available for Erasmus Mundus scholarship, what is available for Commonwealth scholarship. Well, we will not do it chevening, give them an overview of chevening. We can actually, that is an appeal.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah, yeah.
appeal.
We can talk about that, of course, at the end of the section. Yeah, yeah, sure. That's a good this thing. We would get to that. I think I have a slide on that as well.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So just to wrap up everything I've talked about these. Now the next thing that is very important is, and I think I've already talked about review and recommend. I've talked about review when you are sending your essay for review. I think the only thing I want to stress on, who can review your applications. It could be your peer, somebody applying like you. A second eye is always very important. It could be your mentor. As a word, write your essay before sending for review. I've already said this in the past. I've had people when I was doing reviews. I have people who, this is an essay that says 300 words. Somebody is sending me a 700-word essay. Like you're expecting me to turn a 700-word essay into a 300 word. If it take me months to do that, right? It's your responsibility. It's not mine. If you are given an essay, write it. If you finish writing it and you say, I am ready to submit, then send it for review. Don't just put up whatever and send it for review. I'm not available for review anyway. I must say that. For recommendation, I think I will stress on this. One of the good things that happened to us when we were applying is that we had people who were willing to recommend us. One of the people who were willing to recommend us was Dr. Ray. That's why I hold him in high esteem up to today. I think then he was still doing his PhD, but he was still recommending us. And I know that the master's degree I got, MQual, he recommended me in MQual, I think, yes. Even my PhD, he recommended me, right? The PhD I'm doing now. So you need to find people who are willing to recommend you. Don't just think about using going to professors to write recommendations for you. Doctors can write recommendation for you. PhD students can write recommendation for you. As much as they have, their professional career overlaps with yours. Like they were once your lecturer, they were once assisting your supervisor. I know that when I was doing my thesis, my undergraduate thesis, Dr. Ray was like the assistant lecturer assisting my supervisor. He's a professor then. More or less, Dr. Ray was the person that was looking over our research because the professor was more or less busy. So he was in a very good position to recommend me because he knows my work. So if you find somebody like that, try to build good relationships when you are in school. Dr. Ray was just saying about this now. See, when you are in school, don't give in to this idea of I don't want anybody to know me, I don't want my professors to know me, my lecturers, and even the school self. What is even the importance of the school? I finished this school, I have. If you already find yourself in school, try as much as you can to make the best out of the school and try. I'm not saying try to do notice me, but don't hide yourself. Let your professors, let your lecturers know you, because one day you might need them. And if they don't know you, as mean I walk up to Dr. Reina and say, hello, sir, I was your student back in Michael Okpara University. You told me this and this. And he's like, I don't even know the name. I don't know the face. I don't know how he would recommend me, right? He recommended me because he knew me even several years after we left school. He still knows me. So I could go to him and ask for recommendation and he could write good recommendations for us. Not just me, he recommended so many other of my peers and they also got scholarships. So know your lecturers and let them know you, right? And build a good relationship with them because someday you might need them. Even at work, the place you are working, have a good relationship with your boss. Now, let me tell you why I said you don't need sometimes, you don't need to worry about having professors recommend you. Sometimes the people who are reading these applications don't really care to go and start researching the person recommending you and all those things. If you wrote a good recommendation, they can see that yes, this is a good recommendation. It's coming from his professor. They sometimes they just want to, so they can tell whether you are a good student or not from your transcript, from your degree. They know whether you know how to write from your applications, your SOP. They already saw these things. But they want to see a recommendation because if you are the person that fights your supervisor or your lecturers, they will not agree to write good recommendation for you. They will still write recommendation for you, but they will just write one paragraph and send. If a lecturer is willing to write 2 pages on behalf of a student and say things about the student, it means he has a good relationship with the lecturer. That is sometimes what they are looking out for. I said sometimes because sometimes they also want to see the person recommending you, right? So that's why you need to, have a good relationship with your professors. Also graduate well and let these recommenders know what you can do. Sometimes you might need to send them a draft, so that they know what you have achieved since you left school, who you are. Send them your CV.
Okay, a quick one, A quick
Yeah.
one. A student reached out to me about a recommendation. The student actually graduated about 3 years ago. So after that 3 years ago, no contact. I supervised the student. No contact, no contact for over 3 years. And the person just woke up to me one morning, sir, I want you to write the recommendation for me. I was like, no, I can't do that. For the past 3 years, I don't know who you've become. I don't know, maybe if you have actually robbed the bank for the past 3 years. I don't know if you have been a criminal for the past 3 years. I don't know what you have become. 3 years is a long period to stay out of contact with someone, and you expect the person to still write a recommendation for you. What will I be writing? So I just decline. I cannot recommend you. So it's that simple. So people
Oh,
don't
okay.
take, most students, like you said earlier, students don't take their lecturers serious. They don't take their lecturers serious. They just want to be passive. They just want to be passive. You just go to school, graduate from school. Nobody knows you. And all of a sudden, you're coming back to the lecturer that you don't want the lecturer to know you, for the lecturer to still write the recommendation that he or she knows you. I don't know how people tend to, I don't know what's the rationale behind you coming to school, you're hiding from lecturers. You don't want lecturers to see you. You don't want lecturers to know you. All of a sudden, you now need recommendation. You now want somebody who does not know you to recommend you. I think that doesn't work with me. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean that's
Explanation.
true. That's true. That's true. I mean, it's good to keep in touch with your lecturers. It's good to keep in touch. And one of the best ways you keep in touch is if you have a link, if you have LinkedIn, right? Sometimes you see him make posts, you comment. If he has a channel like Dr. Ray has, you comment. Sometimes you reach out to him and ask. Just try to keep this communication going, because sometimes someday you might, and it's not just because you might need him. It's just because you want to build that relationship, and it might still help you in the long run. So try as much as you can to stay in touch with your lecturers. And like I said, and Dr. Ray has emphasized on it, if you're already in school, one of the greatest mistakes you can make is saying, I don't want anybody to know me, I just want to graduate and leave this school. That's probably the worst mistake you can make, because almost everything you do in life, you need a recommendation. Even if it's a job, you need a recommendation. If you don't have anybody you can walk up to, and of course you can't walk to your family member because you need somebody whose professional career overlaps with yours. So you can't walk to your father or your uncle and say, recommend me. Some people, I think what they now do is to go to their pastor to say, recommend me. If your pastor is recommending you and your professor is recommending you, I will take the professor over your pastor. If your boss at work is recommending you, I will take it over your pastor, right? Because your pastor, you meet him only at church and you give him tithe and offering, and he can say whatever you want him to say. Your boss, if you have fight him, if you fought him when you are working with him, he will not try to go recommendation. See, in the United States, something I noticed is that recommendation is not like you are not begging for it, right? If you go to a professor and say recommend me, he will recommend you. I have taught students in the first year, second year of my third year. I've had some of them come to me and say, please, they are looking for student job because there are student jobs in the school. And to get a student job, you need a recommendation. Some of them have come to me and say, can you please write me? It's part of your work. What do you call it? It's part of your job description. But the point is, like Dr. Ray is saying, you don't just, so if you come to me recommend me, as much as you are my student, you are my student, I will recommend you. But the question now is, what is the quality of what I will write for you? If I don't know you, I don't even know this first, I will write that this guy is a good boy. Of course, I will never say he's a bad person. I will say he's a good student. I think you should give him the job. That's it. If he's somebody I know and I know well about him, I can take 2 pages and write about him. I can describe this person, how he's attentive to class, what he did, his project, this everything I know, I can detail it. And of course, if a lecturer is submitting a recommendation for you, there is 1 page, one paragraph. Like some people will just open the box, they say write a recommendation on this, then they just open the box and type it right there, like write 5 lines and submit it. You already know you are out, right? Already, some people will say it's not by quantity, it's by quality. It's by quality, but I don't know now the quality of three sentences recommendation. I don't know what you said about the person. You need to talk about who this person is. What has he achieved? What do you know him for? What project did he do? How did he demonstrate leadership? How did he? I mean, you need to write about the person. It needs to be a good recommendation, and you need to go to professors that really understand recommendation. That's why I said that sometimes you might suggest giving them a draft so that you can describe yourself very well. But like Dr. Ray said, the main thing is maintain a good relationship with your professors, with your lecturers. You might need them someday, so that you don't just wake up in the middle of the night and say, hey, you supervised me 3 years ago, please, and he doesn't know your face. Let me not spend so much time on that. And so finally, the next thing I want to talk about is preparing your heart for rejections. So sometimes when people hear about scholarships, all they see is the success, especially when you upload your story, they now see your success. They don't know that underneath that success lies the hard work, persistence, late nights, rejections, sacrifices, discipline, criticism, doubt, failure, risks. So if you're trying to apply for scholarships and you are not willing to get rejected, don't just apply. I've never seen anybody who made his very first application and get selected. Let me use my example as my experience as example. When people hear about me, this is what they see. They see that in 2020 I applied for different scholarships. I got this Erasmus Mundus scholarships. I was accepted and I took it. I got Commonwealth scholarship. I was accepted. I declined it. Then 2022, when I was looking for PhD, I applied to United States. I was accepted. I also applied to Europe. I was accepted. I declined it. That's all they see. But if you actually want to see the full story, this is my applications. In 2020, I made 22 applications. These are apart from the ones I sent to professors. I made 22 applications. Some of them I got no response at all. Most of them I was rejected, but I got 2 acceptance. And this is the order in which I submitted it. So I started getting rejection, one acceptance, rejection, one acceptance, and some rejection. In 2022, when I was applying for PhD, I made, and out of this 11, there are so many advertised positions and cold emails I sent, which I did not list. I just put them as one. If you count them, they might be up to 15. Mostly no response, especially professors from Canada, they don't respond. I don't know. From United States, I got several rejections, I got acceptance, so many rejections, acceptance. So if you are trying to submit application and you think that if I just get rejected once, I withdraw, just don't even waste your time applying, because you would get used to rejection. You will get used to waking up in the middle of the night waiting, because I didn't talk about this, I forgot it. You keep track of the application, you know exactly the day they are going to announce who is selected. You wake up and the email just drop and you look at it and it's a rejection. You say you will not do this thing again. You cry, you sleep, you wake up the next morning and you keep applying. That's just the spirit. That's just how to do it. I think I would end it here without further ado. So if you want more information, you can talk to Dr. Ray. You can follow his Facebook. I think if you just type celebrity lecturer, you should be able to see his Facebook, but else you can still use this link. His TikTok account is here. I guess it's also celebrity lecturer. You can be able to reach him, or you want to send an email, important email, not just to say hi. You can send, the email to his email address. You can ask me questions if you want. Ask me directed, targeted questions. If you say hi to me, I don't respond to hi. That's the truth. I'm not being proud. I'm just saying that I'm busy. I have things to do. So hi is not one of the things I respond to. Just look for Comic Chemist. on Instagram, Facebook, whichever. I post contents also, just like Dr. Ray. You can just use Atomic Chemist to connect me. For this is Atomic Chemist underscore. As a rule, if you type Comic Chemist and you don't see me, just put underscore to it. You will see me. This is my name in all social media handles. Or better still, you have your questions, you can ask it right now. And if I know the answers, I will give you. If I don't, I will tell you I don't know the answers. So thank you very much. And that's it for this presentation. And thank you, Dr. Ray, for having me. I don't know if you're talking, but I cannot hear you.
Sorry, I muted my listing. So
Yeah.
I thank you very much for coming online to tell us more about this scholarship. From the comment section on YouTube, people are actually happy. This is part of experience. It's actually mind blowing for me. I've learned a lot even today. You can be recommending someone, but the person will end up, you can be doing tutorial for someone, the person will end up doing tutorial for you tomorrow. So life is a dynamic place. So thank you very much for coming online today. I believe we also have maybe another section where we talk about chevening alone so that people can, that will do much publicity, because I believe that the publicity for this one was too narrow. So that one will do more publicity, will give more time so that people can get the information. So we'll be closing the edition today. Thank you, Mr. Darlington. I wish you all the best in your PhD program. And thank you for our viewers who actually stayed for these 2 hours. It's not easy. So thank you very much. Any further question will be asked through the social media handles or through, I also have a WhatsApp platform where we can actually bring everybody together to ask a question and seek for future direction. Thank you, Mr. Darlington.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you all for viewing.
Thank you.